everyone! It is 2018, which means this is officially the year that Taylor Swift takes her Reputation tour on the road, and I am so excited. I like to make costumes and go to the shows with a different costume, sometimes a sign as well, and it's just fun to dance all night and enjoy the atmosphere. There's people who also dress up because they've heard about Loft 89 or the Tea Party as it used to be called, and that's basically the opportunity to go backstage and meet Taylor after the show. Sometimes if her management see you and you're really standing out as somebody who's a big fan, they can invite you backstage after the show, or sometimes to the B stage or to the front row. And I have never been invited to Loft 89 or the Tea Party or Club Red as it was called at one point, but I was invited to the B stage once, and I have been noticed for my costumes in the past. So I wanted to share some of my tips that I've learned over the 7 years that I've made costumes, and maybe show you some of the costumes as well, and some of the best practices, and some of the things that I'd recommend that you avoid as well. So I hope you enjoy. This video comes with a massive disclaimer as well, because if you're watching this video in the hope that you're going to get noticed by Taylor's management, I'm just going to say right now, it is all down to luck. You can watch hundreds of these videos and try and do everything that they say absolutely spot on, and there's still no guarantee that you're going to meet Taylor or get noticed at all, which I know sounds really mean. The only real guarantee you have at a Taylor Swift show is that you're going to see Taylor Swift perform. So I'd just say try and keep your expectations in reality, and anything else is a bonus. So let's get started. So I have some notes about what I want to talk about today, and I have some of my costumes with me as well, and you might also see some videos and photos during this video of what I was like during tour and things. I do have various videos. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was coming up with a costume idea. Now, the first time I went to make a costume, I was kind of anxious that I didn't have much skills when it came to DIY. And I would say, yes, of course, be anxious that you don't know how to do DIY, but there's also so many resources online that can help you. So the first costume I'm going to show you is one that I made for the Red Tour, and this was just a plain white t-shirt and Sharpies, and we have some stick-on diamantes as well, but ultimately this was really easy to make. That's something you can wear to show that you're more of a Swiftie than the average concert goer. It's really easy to put together, really fun, and it doesn't take much skills. The other one I want to show you is a bit more specialist. This is one that I'd done for the 1989 tour as well. And this was a white dress that we bought from Amazon. And then I basically dipped it in a pot of tea. And I also ripped corners of it, ripped it at the bottom, and there's blood stains all over it as well. There's also areas where it looks a little more aged, and that's coffee. I'm amazed how easy it was to put this together, because I'm really not a crafty person at all, but the way that it turned out looked amazing, and there were people taking photos of us, heads were turning when we were wearing these costumes, and I'm so proud of this, I really am. I think this is the favourite one that I've put together. The last item I'm going to show you is the costume that I met Taylor in, and I have Lily to thank infinitely for this. She is honestly the best, because this costume has a ton of buttons sewn to it, and I don't know how to sew, or at least not how to sew properly. Lily spent months making us both these t-shirts. Mine says "You Always Knew," and her one says "How to Push My Buttons," lines from a song called "I Wish You Would" off the 1989 album. And then on the back, she had 19 and I had 89, and we drew a lot of heads with that one as well, and Taylor really loved that. You know, she'd obviously spent a lot of time on that and things. My contribution to that outfit was a couple of bin bag tutus, which again were really easy to put together. I managed to do them both in an afternoon, and then I took some bin bags with me to the show in case I'd missed any patches. I didn't want our bums on show, really. DIY doesn't have to be complicated. DIY doesn't have to be specialist. There's tutorials online that can help you, and as long as you don't expect yourself to be a costuming pro, I think there's definitely a lot of things that you can put together. Just use your imagination and don't be afraid to try something new, because I'd never dipped a dress in a pot of tea before and it turned out really cool. I would say do things like sequins and glitter and bright colours. Don't wear black or dark colours. I've done that before. I've made that mistake, and now I'm trying to avoid black because you're already in a dark room. If you're wanting to be seen and you're wearing black, it seems like you're not working towards your goal, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, if you're wearing a suit, obviously, it kind of has to be black. But in general, if you have a choice of colour, try to go for something bright, or at least light, like white. Sequins as well, glitter, anything that kind of catches the light and makes it look fun is something that I'd go for. In terms of lights and things and detail, concentrate it on the upper part of your body. You need to think about where you're sitting in the concert or where you're standing and what the people around you can see. So you could have the most fascinating skirt on, but nobody's going to see it because there's a person in front blocking your view, there's a person behind, people either side. Kind of concentrate lights and things on your head and on your shoulders and kind of the top half of your body. If you have any left to do your legs, awesome. But concentrate on things on the top because that's where you're most likely to be visible. Next thing I wanted to talk about was materials to use and materials to avoid. And this is something that I've learned over the years as well. It's going to get hot. There's a lot of people around and you're going to get sweaty. And don't cover yourself in fleece material. 2014 Kate, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Me and Lily decided at a couple of shows to go dressed as raccoons. And we had like this big fleecy sleepwear outfit on. And we got incredibly hot. We had to get rid of the raccoon outfits in the end because it was just impossible to stay cool and wear them. So I'd say avoid heavy materials. I tend to try and go for natural fibres like cotton. I think all of those outfits are cotton there. And again, that's just something I've learned over the years. Try and make a costume that you would wear in a hot country. How do I decide which costumes to take to which shows? I usually go to multiple shows, and usually we're in different places as well. We don't always get the same seats. So how do I decide which costumes to wear in which venues? And that's basically a tactical thing a bit. When it came to the first night of the 1989 tour, our original plan was to wear an outfit we made in homage to Clean, and that included scuba dive gear, it involved a sign that was made out of a shower curtain, and it involved bikini t-shirts. We were going to be sitting way, way high for this show, and we were actually in the front row, so we could have draped the banner over the front, and it would have looked really funny. And the reason we picked that costume for that show is because it was one that really turned a lot of heads when we wore it. We looked totally insane. We had armbands on and things as well. So I felt like that was our best chance at getting an upgrade. The next night we were going to be in the lower levels, near to kind of where Mama Swift hangs out. And because of that, we wanted the Buttons t-shirts that night, because Lily had put a lot of hard work into them, and we felt we had better chances of being seen in that area. As it happens, we had to swap these two costumes, because I ended up meeting Taylor on the first night. Then we went to Amsterdam and we wore the zombie costume there. And I'm pretty sure that was just the last one that needed to be shown. There wasn't really any reason why we wore it in Amsterdam. Again, it was one that turned a lot of heads. So I suppose being in the upper levels, it maybe had a chance of being upgraded. But I can't remember any particular strategy as to why we needed to wear that one in the upper levels. Then we had 2 shows with our friend Liam. And the first show, we didn't really have any particular reason for wearing the costumes as we did in the area that we were in. We were quite near to the stage. There wasn't really any chance of us being upgraded because we already had really good seats. And then the second night we were dressed up as bees and we had seats by the bee stage. So for the purposes of the pun, we decided that we'd be bees in that area. When you're trying to decide which costumes to wear to which shows, try to bear in mind who you're going to be seen by, what sort of visibility you have, and also in terms of the costume, how far out it is, because if you're far out at the back of the room and people have been talking about you and people have seen you on social media, then it's not necessarily a bad thing to be at the back of the room, if that makes any sense. So the next thing I'm going to cover is how do you know that other people aren't going to wear the same costume as you? Because one of the big tips that people say for getting into Loft 89 is to stand out and do something different. And I feel this is really, really difficult when you don't know what other people are going to wear. One of the things that tends to be done over and over again is iconic music video looks and also lyrics from the songs that are singles. So if you go for an album track, you've more of a chance of standing out as looking different, in my opinion. I didn't see anybody else do a clean theme, and I only saw one other person attach buttons to themselves, and that was at a totally different show, and I think they had a hell of a lot less buttons than we did. We just went crazy with the buttons. Having an obscure costume can help you to get noticed, something a little different. What will ultimately get you noticed is if you're enjoying the show, and if you're overthinking it too much, you're probably not enjoying the show. So try not to overthink it. If you've enjoyed putting your costume together, then that's really all that matters. When it comes to making a costume, there's definitely some things that I would recommend avoiding. So the first thing I would definitely say avoid is making a costume that might be considered inappropriate. There's some venues that won't allow you to have things that look like they're imitating guns or weapons of any sort. If they seem distasteful, overly political, things like that, try not to be controversial when you're putting a costume together. If you tell somebody about your costume idea and they sound surprised and a little wary, then that's maybe a sign that you should rethink your costume idea. When it came to dressing up as zombies in Amsterdam, we made a conscious decision not to look too much like zombies. We didn't want to scare any kids or be too horrifying to people. Dressing as a zombie for the Reputation tour is probably going to be probably a lot more safe of a bet now, because in one of the music videos Taylor's dressed as a zombie, so I think there'll be quite a few zombies this year. Another thing to avoid with costumes is anything that the venue could consider too distracting. So if you're lit up like somebody's house at Christmas, like just entirely, then they might consider that way too distracting. If they consider you to be more of a sideshow than Taylor, then that's kind of venturing into dangerous territory. It's okay to have lights and it's okay to be dancing and things, but if you're turning way too many heads from the main action, sometimes that can be a little bit controversial to them. Also, be in good taste when it comes to how much you're wearing. If it's too skimpy, again, the venue might intervene. And the other thing I have here as well is don't bring too many accessories with you. And then I feel like my last point is the one that everybody pretty much knows, is just be aware of the venue restrictions when it comes to signs and lights and things. In Amsterdam, they said absolutely no lights at all, and they had somebody at the door basically throwing away people's lights if they tried to get in with them. There was a girl who'd made a beautiful, beautiful sign, and it was too big, and she had to throw it in the bin, and she was genuinely crying. We brought in a ton of glow sticks and just lit ourselves up as much as we could, and pretty much everybody there did the same. But yeah, just glow sticks, something fun like that. We tend to bring extra as well, so if we see somebody who's had to throw away a sign or somebody who's having a bad night, then we'll pretty much be like, do you want some glow sticks? Which doesn't really help much, but you know, it maybe helps them to realise that other people are realising that they put a lot of effort into the things that they did there. If you're going to a show in costume and you've put a lot of effort into it, let other fans enjoy it as well. Post it on Tumblr, on Twitter, on Instagram, on the Swift Life, and let other fans see it, let them enjoy it. Social media helps it to be a lot more social experience when you go to a show. And it also helps you connect with the Swiftie community, which I feel is another reason for doing costumes in the first place. So consider posting it on social media. I know some people like to keep their costumes a secret, but just before the show, why not? Just enjoy the fun. My dog is kicking. So I hope that's helped you to get ready for the Reputation tour. If you're going to Reputation in Manchester on the first night or London on both nights, then I'll maybe see you there. Give me a wave if you see me. And if you need any help with putting together a costume, or you have any questions, if you want to tell me about the costumes you've done in the past, let me know down below. I'd love to read your comments and give you some help. And my social media links all around the internet are going to be down below as well. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Cheerio! Thanks again for watching, everybody. If you want to see my videos from the 1989 tour, they're over here. If you want to see my videos of my reaction to Reputation, they're over here. And if you'd like to subscribe to stay up to date with my other videos, that button's over here. Thank you so much again, everyone. Cheerio!